Welcome to the Title IV Part A Grant Overview webinar. I'm Layla Brewer, Title IV Part A Program Consultant at the Kentucky Department of Education. Title IV Part A is also known as the Student Support and Academic Enrichment Grant. The grant is made up of 3 content areas with an overall program purpose to improve students' academic achievement by increasing the capacity of states, districts, schools, and communities to provide all students with access to a well-rounded education, improve school conditions for student learning, and maximize and enhance the effective use of technology in order to improve the academic achievement and digital literacy of all students. Implementation of the grant should include coordination of other schools and community-based services and programs. Funds should be used to foster safe, healthy, supportive, and drug-free environments that support academic achievement, and may be conducted in partnership with businesses, nonprofit organizations, community-based organizations, or other public or private entities with demonstrated record of success in implementing activities authorized in ESEA Section 4108. The development of the plan for implementation should include a logic model visually connecting the activity to expected outcomes that are stated as well-defined and measurable goals and clarifies how the activity will work. Well-defined measurable goals with implementation timeline for successful execution, and a clearly outlined roles and responsibilities for people involved, including the person responsible for the activity success, those with a deep understanding of the activity, and those working to implement the activity on the ground. Also, as part of the implementation plan, the coordinator will need to identify resources required to support the activity, like staff time, funding, materials, or outside supports, a process to monitor implementation and collect information on how the activity is working to ensure continuous improvement, including plans for data collection, analysis, and evaluation to examine performance against well-defined and measurable goals, and an outreach strategy to regularly engage stakeholders. As part of the application process for Title IV Part A funds, the district must first complete the intent to participate in GMAP by the annual deadline prior to completing the application. The intent is a requirement for the district to complete to state if they want to receive Title IV Part A funds, if they plan on joining a consortium with funds, or if they decline funds, which will then be redistributed to remaining districts. Districts are also notified of their preliminary allocations for the next grant period when the intent to participate opens. Once the intent closes, the Title IV Part A application will open within a few weeks as part of the consolidated application in GMAP. The district application must align to the district's documented comprehensive needs assessment. There must be clear alignment between the application and the comprehensive needs assessment for approval. Districts also need to ensure all sections of the application are completed and documentation is maintained of all district requirements. ESEA Section 4105A3 allows districts to form a consortium with other surrounding districts to combine funds to jointly carry out allowable activities under Title IV Part A. Districts are not required to join a consortia, but this is an option if local districts have aligned initiatives that plan on carrying out, and it would be more cost-effective and more sustainable to combine funding to support the initiative as a consortium. Funding for consortia is the sum of allocations between all of its member school districts. Allocations for consortia members are determined by the Title I funding formula. A district or consortium of districts must prioritize the distribution of funds to schools based on one or more of several factors, including schools that, among those with the greatest needs as determined by the district, have the highest numbers of students from low-income families, are identified as CSI or TSI schools, or are identified as persistently dangerous public elementary or secondary schools under ESEA Section 8532. Currently, no schools in Kentucky meet this classification. Section 4110 requires that Title IV Part A funds be used to supplement and not supplant non-federal funds that would otherwise be used for activities authorized under Title IV Part A. This means that a district may not use Title IV Part A program funds to carry out activities that would otherwise be paid for with state or local funds. In determining whether a particular use of funds would violate the non-supplanting requirement, districts should consider matters such as whether the cost involved is currently paid for using state or local funds, or whether the cost involved is for an activity that is required by state or local law. In no event may districts decrease the amount of state or local funds used to pay the cost of an activity simply because of the availability of the Title IV Part A program funds. Title IV Part A has requirements for providing equitable services to private non-public schools within the district's geographical boundary. ESCA Sections 1117 and 8501 requires timely and meaningful notification and consultation to occur between the district and each non-public school that resides within the district's geographical boundary. Services must be provided to participating private schools during the school year funds are provided. For more information on the Equitable Services requirements, please see the Equitable Services webinar and additional resources on the Title IV Part A webpage. ESCA Section 4106 outlines the requirements of the Title IV Part A application. Districts are required to consult with a list of required stakeholders and document the consultation process. Any district or consortia that receives $30,000 or more must conduct a comprehensive needs assessment at least once every 3 years. Funds must be utilized to support areas that were identified in the consultation process and through the needs assessment. Programs funded with Title IV Part A funds must be evaluated for effectiveness in addressing the needs identified. In the application, the district must include the ongoing process that will be used to evaluate the effectiveness of the programs during the school year. This is to provide feedback to make changes during the year to ensure the success of the program or to evaluate if a new program or activity may need to be implemented to meet the needs identified in the needs assessment. Districts need to document the evaluation process and maintain that documentation at the district level. The application also requires the district to complete a budget to show how funds will be used to support the Title IV Part A program. All budgeted items must be reasonable in cost, necessary to carry out the Title IV Part A program, allocable to the grant, documented, and supplemental. All districts that receive $30,000 or more in funds are required to complete a comprehensive needs assessment and follow the following spending requirements. Spend at least 20% of funds for activities to support well-rounded educational opportunities, at least 20% of funds for activities to support safe and healthy students, and a portion of funds must be spent on technology. This portion must be a reasonable amount to support a program or activity that could be funded with Title IV Part A. And no more than 15% of the funds for activities to support the effective use of technology can be used on purchasing technology infrastructure. This includes devices, equipment, software applications, platforms, digital instructional resources, and/or other one-time IT purchases. Also, no more than 2% is allowed to be set aside for administrative costs. This includes costs for overseeing Equitable services and for administering the grant. Districts that receive less than $30,000 in Title IV Part A funds are not required to complete a comprehensive needs assessment. There are no specific spending requirements for each section of the grant. The district can determine how much funds will be spent in any of the 3 sections, but must spend funds in at least one of the 3 program areas. The special 15% rule in the effective use of technology section still applies where no more than 15% of funds in the effective use of technology section of the grant can be spent on technology infrastructure, which includes technology hardware, software, and general educational devices. This is not 15% of the entire grant amount. Also, no more than 2% of funds are allowed for administrative costs. ESCA Section 4106D requires that an LEA receiving an allocation of at least $30,000 must conduct a comprehensive needs assessment prior to receiving its allocation, and subsequent needs assessments at least once every 3 years to examine its needs for improvement of access to and opportunities for a well-rounded education for all students, school conditions for student learning to create a safe and healthy learning environment, and maximizing and enhancing the use of educational technology to improve student learning. Some examples of well-rounded educational opportunities include science, technology, engineering, and mathematics or STEM programs, music and arts educational programs, foreign language instruction, college and career counseling, environmental education, accelerated learning programs, and high school redesign with dual or concurrent enrollment and early college high schools. Examples of safe and healthy students activities include bullying prevention, suicide prevention, school-based mental health services, school-wide positive behavioral interventions, trauma-informed practices, school dropout prevention, drug and violence prevention, reentry programs and transition services for justice-involved youth, child sexual abuse awareness and prevention, and building school and community relationships. Examples of effective use of technology activities include professional learning and maximizing and enhancing the use of educational technology in the classroom, personalized learning, blended learning strategies, and support for professional learning in STEM and STEAM activities. For additional resources on the Title IV Part A program, please visit the National Center on Safe and Supportive Learning Environments webpage and the Title IV Part A non-regulatory guidance. More webinars and Title IV Part A resources are also available on the KDE Title IV Part A webpage. If you have any questions on the Title IV Part A program, please reach out to your KDE Title IV Part A consultant. Thank you.